Welcome back to 80 Proof Gaming.
Hello.
We're into the topics of the month now because we've already talked about Bungie / Destiny and the NVIDIA GTX Titan and all of the others.
And our blood alcohol content is high enough for this point of conversation.
I'm so fucking high.
Those topics. Who wants to start this bitch off? Right.
Alright, well, mine's kind of fun. And a topic of that has become something of almost more myth than legend. My topic is female video gamers and female video game representation, really. You know, in particular, like picking a female character model. Do girls play video games in general?
We're in a fairly unique situation in that we have lived with a lot of female video gamers. Most notably, Marissa. She's unique because she plays a lot of video games, but she's like as good as we are. So like, we have sort of a unique perspective because we've got not as many females, but we actually have met the illustrious, the mythological, the legendary female video gamer. And she's no different than we are.
Yep, I mean...
Way to ruin it, Nathan. Good job.
What an asshole.
But it's really interesting, though, to see, at this point, there are professional female video gamers.
Ooh, I've got a person that I need to bring up for this topic of discussion. There is a transgender professional StarCraft 2 player.
What about him?
This should bring up a lot of different points of discussion. Surprisingly, it really also at the same time shouldn't, because it shouldn't even be an issue. Like, why should we even be talking about that? She's good at StarCraft 2. Why don't we just
Not
let
really
her be
talking
good
about
at
it,
StarCraft
Nathan.
2?
You're the one talking about it because you're a homophobe, sexist.
I'm such a dick. I'd date her. I would. If she reads
I don't
this
know who this
podcast,
is.
if she listens to this podcast, I'd date you. She's known as the Queen of the Zerg, but I don't remember her actual, I don't remember her actual name. All I remember her as is the Queen of the Zerg. So let's Google
It's
this.
coming up with a bunch of pictures of Kerrigan.
The Queen of the Zerg.
John,
Yes.
you play a lot of strategy games.
I enjoy them, yeah.
This is a question to you then, and people who play strategy games in the comments. Which strategy game should I invest my time into?
Well, do you prefer playing against computers or against people?
Just like as an overall, because I've got quite a few that I haven't played yet. That I own. I've got Company of Heroes, and I've got Warhammer 40k, Dawn of War 1 and 2, and I've got the StarCraft demo thing. And I just don't know which one I should sink my teeth into, because there's so many of them. That I want to play one. I don't want to be spreading myself too thin on strategy games, but I don't know which one I should
Pick
try.
the right one and go for it.
I
Yeah.
looked it up. Her name is Scarlet, and here's a picture.
I do love how how my topic of female video gamers wound up going over to strategy
We'll
games.
get back to it. We'll look
Right,
back
I
to
guess
it. I
we should
promise
come
you.
back to
We'll
that-
look back.
that
We got
question.
time.
Edit that out. Edit all that out. Put it in the end.
No. We'll loop back.
That's hilarious.
As far as
all
strategy games, I would like to recommend StarCraft 2, StarCraft 2, StarCraft 2, StarCraft 2, and
StarCraft.
Warcraft 3.
Why StarCraft 2? What's it got over other games?
It's just the flat. It's just the hardcore strategy game experience. It's not. They don't go hardcore into like heroes in gameplay like Warcraft 3 did. They don't branch off into overly deep base construction. I mean, they've got, you build your buildings, and they have their uses and whatnot, but it's not like the actual architecture of your base, like a SimCity experience. It's not like the architecture and design of your base is particularly significant. It is significant, but not like you build this building here, it blocks your ramp so that this wave of early aggression is canceled out. It's not like just because it's here you get extra resources from. I can't describe it. Point is, it's more simple.
It's really, really polished. It's
core.
really, really polished, honestly, and it's
Balances.
It's well balanced. And it literally is. I mean, if you're wanting to get into a strategy game, I mean, really, it is kind of, as far as I'm concerned, the pinnacle of strategy games. I know John plays tons of them, and I enjoyed playing most of the ones he had suggested. It's a great place to start.
I figured out more about my point. Like in Command and Conquer Generals, you had you only had a few factions, but each of those factions had different generals for those factions. Like you had a laser general that was better at laser, like the same Goliath tank that a different general could use would have a laser turret. And because there were so many different divisions of each individual faction, it was harder to balance. In the case of StarCraft, you only have the three factions to worry about balancing, so they're way more balanced, and it let them flesh out each of the individual factions to have way more options. So you've got plays to counter plays to their counter plays to your plays, kind of thing. It's way more in depth because they had less to worry about in the way of balancing. That's my opinion. I'm done with my opinion.
I played a little bit of StarCraft 2. The only reason that I haven't really sunk my teeth into it and spent a lot of time on it is because it feels... The reason that I would enjoy StarCraft 2 is the same reason I enjoy League of Legends. It's a competitive, difficult game that has a lot of strategy that you can jump around and play different kind of things. You can try out new stuff. You're always learning. You can never be as good as you're ever going to get. And I already have League of Legends for that. So these days when I play strategy games and stuff like that, I enjoy Civ 5, honestly, is what I play these days.
I play so much Civ 5.
Vic is playing too much Civ 5. Don't encourage him.
I like that you can invest a lot of time into it and you can save it and walk away and come back to the same game. And I like that the games take like 8, 10, 12 hours total to play the full. That's an exaggeration.
What's this? There was a space game. I can't remember the name of it. But the games took a really long time. You played it for just a teensy bit of time.
X3?
No, it was
That was a good game though.
It was like an RTS. It was like a competitive RTS.
Sins of a Solar Empire.
I think that was it.
Yeah,
I think that
that's
was
a good
it.
one.
Hold on, how recent is it? Because there's a game that's older that was like Sims, but
Yeah,
not
Sins of a Solar Empire was a
I think
number of
it's
years
Sins
ago.
of the Solar Empire. I think that's it. Let's get back to females because we completely passed over that
I
topic.
think we should really do that.
Also, click
Right.
that picture and tell me that
We
that
should
you
all
wouldn't-
get back to females, right?
She's cute.
Bunch
I
of
don't care what anyone
friggin'
says.
sausage fest. Now, you know what? Okay, so I think I'm gonna call this one here. We have established that the female gamer exists, and then you know what? Next month we'll come back and we'll talk more about
I
like
want
maybe.
to talk about this. Is it alright if I just want to continue talking about this? Because I've got some more to say.
Talk
Okay,
about
that's
it,
fine.
Nathan.
Okay, go
Go for
for
I
it.
wanna
Nathan.
talk
You are
about-
the host.
The female avatars, and female characters in storytelling. Female characters in storytelling are consistently told as being too weak, except in cases like, I don't know, Kerrigan from StarCraft, because holy shit, she was strong beyond measure. But like, the weak ass follow after anyone characters like in Twilight. I know that's not a game example, but I don't know, Talim from Soul Calibur and other any video game. Come up with a video game character that's female that has dialogue that isn't about a male character, and I'll be impressed. Do it right now. Fucking do it in your head.
Wait, what is your question?
Have a female character that speaks with a character that's not male, and the dialogue is about someone that's not male, or about something that's not a male in the storyline.
Okay, should I not talk at all about Final Fantasy X-2?
10-2. It seems to me that all of the female dialogue has been about Tidus in 10-2. I mean,
there has been quite a bit, but I mean, there's also, I mean, any of the
but all the
dialogue-
characters in that game are female. It's not like it's like a feminist the game.
Not entirely accurate, but okay.
It's all about female power, and I mean, like, some of the dialogue in the early parts of that game are like, yeah, we're girls and we're in charge, all right. Like, some of the really, really early parts of that game are sickening. And,
That was a Riku line though, right there.
well, yeah, Riku's a bitch, so. No, I love Riku. Riku's one of my favorite characters, honestly, because she's not the stereotypical buxom lass.
You know-
Speaking of Riku, we being me, John, and Weasel all have a female friend who should really cosplay her, and you guys just instantly thought of who I was talking about, and we
Damn
can
it,
move
I
on.
did. So
Yeah, Nathan, I see your point.
it's really
'Cause
easy
I-
to fall into a few stereotypes. There's the overstrong, like, I am completely independent and I'm making a point of it, which is far preferable in my mind. And then there is the stereotype of I'm attached to my male protagonist character and I'm just a support role. And everything that I say is either going to be about the male protagonist character or about how scary the situation is. Like, it's sickening what game writers will do these days. And you can avoid that. It's so easy to avoid.
I found
I
like
think the Quintus from Final Fantasy VIII.
Kisses.
Her name has an N in it.
Okay?
I mean, granted, most of her dialogue is she plays kind of the older sister role. So she is, she is a teacher. She is strong, but she's really worried about the male protagonist in that she's the caring older sister. So I think she falls somewhere in the middle. But in
Keistus.
all of the thinking I
I
could
just
possibly
googled it.
do.
Totally Kistis. No end.
Oh god, I was wrong about a Final Fantasy VIII piece of trivia. Good God, I need a drink.
That means that I am worthy of all of the praise. That's Aaron's favorite Final Fantasy game. I believe it still is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow, I am the best. The best around. Nothing's ever gonna
Anyways,
keep me down.
Nick had a point.
I agree with like Nathan's thing, but my thing is more like there's so many female characters that are in games, and it's just like why? Like,
Why are
example
you
would be, like,
actually here? Are you really just
the
here
game-
for sex appeal?
no, like the game that I'm playing at the moment, DMC, like there's one female character in it who's Cat, which like that's not like bad because there's only like really 3 characters as protagonist anyway.
It's
And it's
amazing
like-
to me because I was actually going to list her as an example of a strong female role.
No, she's not really a character. Like in the whole thing, it's like she doesn't have any character development, and she's kind of there. And, like at the end of the game, I was like, I don't really care. Like the 2 characters in that game were like Dante and Virgil, and I was like, that was the only characters. I didn't really give a fuck.
It's
Like some of the bad
I
guys.
haven't
were cool.
played the game. All I've seen is that she leads in. I've seen the early portions of the game, and I've seen that she leads in as an important.
Yeah, that's the thing that
She has
disappoints
an
me about
important
it.
role to play in the early parts of the game. She is
Yeah.
the one connection to the information, right?
Yeah, she was so cool in the early game, and then she just kind of drops off, and she's not really there that much. And when she is, she's kind of being useless, and it's like, fuck off, Cat.
What's interesting about that to me too is in the Devil May Cry series, there's always one female character, and Dante, and usually Virgil.
Cat isn't
Yeah.
as good as Trish.
That's a weakness
Trish
of the
is
series. That it's not a
Trish is
strength.
friggin' badass, but
the females in that series are usually strong female roles that I'm okay with. I like that they're strong, but there's not enough storytelling about the characters themselves, and that's okay because in Devil May Cry's, lore book, there just isn't much storytelling on characters that aren't Dante, Virgil, or Sparta. Like, those are the three characters that get actual storytelling. Anybody else is sort of just bland, two-dimensional characters. And that's alright. That's the type of game it is. But I wish we could see more depth in female characters, in games, in general. Just tell us why they are who they are. Tell us why they're strong, why they're weak, what it is that made them who they are. And they'll be more interesting, and the game will be better as a result.
I think you can expand that to every character.
That
Well,
being
I mean,
said,
in books, we have a lot of strong, deep female roles. We also have a lot of weak, two-dimensional female characters. But there's a better average. Can you think of a game that has really good, deep female characters?
I think the best female character in video games that I can think of is Cortana from Halo.
I'm thinking Presea from Tales of Symphonia.
Reasonable.
Do you remember Presea?
Yeah.
She's immortal because she's been given this gem that makes her pretty much immortal. She's not like really immortal. She can be killed, but she hasn't aged for a significant length of time, and she was made immortal in this way right at the moment that I think it was the moment before her father died. Like, her father is sick in bed, and so her father is dying, and so she's made immortal when she's young, and so she winds up, because of the process of being made immortal, she doesn't realize that her father has died, and she keeps caring for her father. And so her father is decomposing in this room where she just keeps trying to care for this decomposing corpse. And the moment that she is made realize what's been going on, she fucking flips out. And so she's in her 30s. It's been like 15 years she's been caring for this decaying corpse. And then she sort of gives her allegiance to this person who has made her realize what's going on. And so her reason for the way she is made evident in the moments that lead up to her becoming a character that comes into your party. And then from that moment on, she grows. And by the end of the game, she comes into this acceptance, and she's this really strong female character that fucking takes shit for herself, you know?
Oh, do you know who's actually an alright female character?
Yeah.
Zelda.
No, actually, I don't. Please tell me.
Zelda's actually kind of cool. Like
Especially in Wind Waker. And Wind Waker is a great example. Some of the other games, she's been a weak character, but in Wind Waker, she's very take charge.
She basically fucking wins the last fight for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you'd be screwed.
Without her, you couldn't hurt him. It's true.
I thought that was cool.
And she's a character that's grown in our minds since day one. Maybe not in the first game, because in the first game, she starts out as... No, wait, that's the second game. In the second game, she starts out as being unconscious on a bed. But as the game has gone through the series, she's grown as a character, which is interesting. You don't see that.
It is the Legend of Zelda, not the Legend of Link.
True, Link is a very two-dimensional character that's just you represented in the game. That's a fantastic point.
Yay.
Good job, buddy. You're all right. Shall we move on to the next host topic? I don't know who's next in the host topic list. Aaron came first. I can go next if you guys would like. All right, I'm going next since nobody has argued.
Go, Weasel, go.
Does game length hurt the quality of a game? This can be a very two-dimensional topic, and it can be a very three-dimensional topic. In a way, we think of game length as being synonymous with it's a value that makes the game better. You know, generally we think longer game is better, but a lot of times game length can be bad for a game. and I'd like to talk about what it is that makes the length of the game hurt a game that's long, and what makes the game that's short be good. And also, see, the other way around, it's actually sort of obvious. There's no reason to talk about, okay, a game being longer is a good thing. We understand intuitively that a more game is better for us. But why is the other way good or bad? Vice versa.
I can take a side on that. The game, one of the games that I played that I forgot to mention in my monthly recap was a game called 10 Million. The title of the game is literally 1 followed by 7 zeros. It's just the number written out, and it's a casual game essentially. It's a casual game with RPG elements thrown in essentially. It's if anybody's ever played. It's a tile matching game. You just move the tiles over, and they it's like Gemcraft or something like that. What the hell was that game called? It was a Facebook game.
Yeah, I
It was
remember what
everywhere
you're
out
talking
there.
about. It's
Blitz, something Blitz.
no. No, you're wrong.
I know Aaron played it back in the day.
Yeah, Aaron, you played it. What are you talking about? Almost
well,
played it.
Bejeweled
It does-
Blitz?
Bejeweled.
Bejeweled, that's it. Exactly. So it's very similar to that, where the main style of the game is just simple, just pulling tiles over and matching it. But there's a side part of the game where it's your character who walks along on a 2D thing and runs into doors, which you have to find. You have to match keys to unlock, and then you have monsters, which you can either fight with scrolls that you find from matching chest tiles, or swords, which are physical attacks, or staffs, which are magic attacks, of course. And every time you play, you earn certain points. There's 4 different resources. There's gold, wood and stone, and then experience, which you can all pay in your home base to unlock certain things. So basically, it's a short game. I beat the game in 4 hours, I think, of total playing time. And I think it was a fantastic game, because it was a cheap game that I can now go back in and try to do some of the achievements that I haven't unlocked yet, and a game that I can do while I'm doing other things. If it was a super long game and it was really in depth, it would lose its appeal, I'm pretty sure. And so there's the casual game market that I think benefits from having short, replayable games.
There's a game.
Definitely. I think that is definitely a good point. There are some games that, like, if you had, like, if it was fun for, like, for like 15, 20 minutes, if I had to play it for 4 hours, I would be pissed,
Right, it wouldn't be
Warfield won't
very
be alive
attractive.
very much longer.
There's some game. I can't remember the name of it.
And that is
Not Limbo, because Limbo is
there's
delicious, but not
absolutely
that
nothing
game.
you can do.
But it's a 2D platformer. The storyline, I beat the game, got to the end. The end, what was so attractive? The end was where the
Braid.
game was awesome. And I hit
Braid.
the end. Braid. He's right.
I hate that game.
You haven't beaten it and have no valid opinion on it, because the ending is where the game
I
is
shouldn't
good.
have to beat a fucking
Yes,
game
you
for-
should, if it's that short. If it's so short that you can beat it in a sitting, then it's not too much to expect you to get to the end.
Your forces
You should check out. There's a original Half-Life mod called Project Stanley or something like that. That the Yogscast just did a video on. You should check it out. I think you'd enjoy it very much, Weasel. Multiple endings.
It's not about
5-10
multiple endings.
minutes of
The
playtime.
the ending, it's a lot like Fifth Element, where the ending is a twist that makes it so that everything else is more validated. The experience up to that point suddenly becomes more valuable because you've reached the twist where everything actually makes sense.
Are under attack.
It doesn't make sense up to that point, but once it does, you're like, oh,
Your
oh,
allies'
oh,
base is under attack.
holy shit! And it's ugh. The point is that if it was any longer,
Your forces
I wouldn't
are
have
under
been
attack.
motivated enough to get to the end,
Not
and the ending would have
Our
never
allies'
become.
base is under
I mean,
attack.
I never would have seen how brilliant the rest of the game was, because it would have been too long to get there.
Your forces
I
Well,
hate
okay,
it when
can we-
games
Go ahead.
overstay their welcome
Do you have an example? That's what I was gonna ask. There's a game that's either too long or too short.
Skyrim.
Honestly, Skyrim. Ugh. Okay, go for it.
Like,
I wipe my hands of this. This is not my opinion. Somebody else is expressing their.
no, like, that game, I played a lot of it, right? I played all of the main story, all of the Dark Brotherhood, all of the Thieves Guild, all of a bunch of other crap. And there's so much in that game, like, there's some really cool crap in there that I really want to play, but, like, the idea of putting that game in my Xbox again is just, like, daunting, because it's like, God, do I really have to continue this? Like, I've done, like, as far as gameplay wise, it's just me looking at stuff more because I've done all I can do gameplay wise. Or like a game that, like, it's simple but they keep drilling this simple shit into your head and it's like I can't. Like, the opposite of this would be like a game like Mega Man X or Dishonored, things where like every level you're getting something new and cool, and when they've finished ideas they wrap the game up and like, right, you've had something cool every like, as a reward for everything good you've done, we give you like a new ability, and then we've got nothing more to do now. End of the game, cool epic shit, and done.
My example for games overstaying their welcome is probably actually Pokemon games.
Yeah.
Because it's the same shit consistently throughout the entire game. I love Pokemon games because I love that same shit. I mean, but I totally understand that it's me being irrational and loving something that most people won't, despite the fact that it literally does stay longer than it needs to. They could expand it somewhere. They could do all sorts of things in a Pokemon game to make it better.
I have a
over
perfect
time.
example of that. Diablo 3 is
Yeah.
way
Oh
longer than it
God,
used to be.
yes, that's much better than my example. Fuck.
And I like it. I like it for the same reason you like Pokemon, because I played the shit out of Diablo 2. So
Yeah, but
it's a
you've
little
got-
irrational.
See, in my case, I've got the excuse of there not being any other games like that. In your case, you don't have that attitude because there's a ton of other games that are just like Diablo 3 but better. No, but totally, I get it.
To be fair, I
do
play
get
those
it.
games as well.
With games that are really long burning, you need to like figure out to yourself if it's worth your time or not.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be having to consider if a game is worth my time. I should just be engaged the whole time.
That's something
Right.
I've been objecting to in a few MMORPGs, is that, especially Terra Online, they don't change the gameplay style very often. I mean, it's actually better than most MMORPGs in the case of Terra Online, because I've been playing Sorcerer, and at first, you're a long-distance spell-casting, fragile damage dealer. But as time goes on, you get the ability to move around a lot more, and you find out that in instances, once you get the access to the instances, you can use the equivalent of dash. I don't know if it's dash. Flash. The equivalent of flash for mages in World of Warcraft, where you just move a certain distance forward, and then you have moves that deal a ton of damage right next to you. Then you've got a move that moves you backwards and deals damage to someone right next to you. So you can put yourself in a very fragile and dangerous position by placing yourself right next to the opponent. But it works like bosses in other games where they telegraph their attacks. You can tell where they're going to hit. So if you're really good, you can space yourself between their attacks to flash in, deal all of your damage moves that are close to you, then do your retreat. So you figure out that, like, if you have enough skill, your
LeBlanc.
gameplay actually does change over time. Not like LeBlanc, because you always have a spell that you can use. In LeBlanc's case, in League of Legends, you use all of your spells, then you've got huge cooldowns, you just gotta fucking dick around for a minute. Like, I'm gonna do slash dance slash laugh, and that's all you got.
AD carry LeBlanc.
But in a lot of MMORPGs that keep coming out, they don't vary your gameplay style frequently enough. They think that, oh, once you get tired of the gameplay style of this class, you'll roll another class. No. Once you get tired of the gameplay class that you have chosen, you stop playing. You find another game to play. I'm sorry, developers. You can't rely on somebody seeking out a different class that they chose to not play to elongate your gameplay time.
The only game that was really good at getting people to do that
Final
was
Fantasy 11 because you don't have to re-roll a character. It's not a new character. You're just like, oh, I walk over here and I pick up the new class. It's the same
can we
thing
talk
you
about-
chose.
Can I ask you if they're doing that in Final Fantasy 14?
You can ask. I can't
Is it a
necessarily
similar
tell
system?
you.
Base is under attack.
Okay, we
I'm
can't
sorry.
talk about it.
Here are the things that I can tell you. I can tell you a few things. It's public release. There will be multiple
Cool.
classes. You can choose multiple classes. One of the most exciting things that I actually physically can tell you is that guilds, the equivalent of guilds, it's not what they're called in Final Fantasy XI, but guilds have your own guild structure, your own guild like base, and you can build things on that base. You can expand that base
Our allies' base
to
is
give
under
buffs to the people in your guild. That's the coolest thing I've
Huh.
heard. And
In
that's
game while
public
you're playing
information.
buffs.
Yeah, in-game buffs, like experience buffs.
Not like flashy, I'm purple now.
No, no, no,
kind
no, no.
buffs.
Like actual useful shit. Like I've got
Alright,
more
cool.
flat health, or I get more experience from fights.
Sure, like you build a smithy and all of a sudden everybody does 2 more damage or something
Yeah,
like that. That's
stuff like
kinda
that.
Cool.
That's public
Very cool.
information. I can tell you that. I cannot tell you anything about the experiences that I've had from, or I have not had from the beta.
Except
But,
for that they're fun.
but I'm
Our
excited.
allies' base is under
Yeah.
attack.
I can tell you that I'm excited.
Do we have any information about when they're going to be out of beta or anything like that?
There is information, I don't remember it. They've got a
Okay.
timeline that's very public.
I could probably just Google that and find out. So no
Yep,
worries.
you can
Our allies'
Google
base is under attack.
Final Fantasy 11 or Final Fantasy 14 A Realm Reborn schedule, and I'm sure something will come up for you.
Cool.
So
What was this topic that we're talking about?
I don't
right?
remember. We've passed straight through it into other things. Does length hurt the quality of a game?
Our allies' base
That was
is
the topic.
under attack.
Alright.
Do we have any
we
other
covered
opinions,
that
or
or
have
not?
we shot it to death?
Base is under attack.
I don't know.
Our SCVs
We have shot it to
under
death, and we're
attack.
moving on.
Unless someone has something to say about it.
Well, I gave you all the opportunity. Nobody had anything to say.
Yep, there we go.
So we've got all that's left is John and Nick. Who wants to go first? I would like for you to actually
Our
battle
allies'
over it.
base is under attack.
How are they
would we
going
battle?
to fight?
I tried this once before, and they just said, "Oh, why don't
Yeah.
you go first?" Okay.
We're just supposed to talk louder than each other because that's really annoying to listen to, and we're going to kill the headphone
It's
users.
pretty late as well. and
Rock
we're
paper
on it.
scissors? Oh, you can't rock paper scissors over the internet. Nick, why don't you go first?
No.
What is my topic? Oh, reboots, right? Going back to roots in quotation marks, right? So DMC, Devil May Cry, Tomb Raider,
So many people
SimCity.
have been doing this. This is very
Our
relevant.
allies' base is
Really?
under
Oh,
Alright.
yeah.
Well, not so much going back to roots, but like especially with their naming and shit like that. Like when I was playing DMC Devil May Cry, I was loving the whole fucking thing. It's like one of the best, like not the best, but like one of the games I've had the most fun with in like a really long time. But I was playing it and I was like, why is this called DMC Devil May Cry? Like you can put like DMC and then put a different caption after it, and I think it would have like solved a lot of problems that people had with the game. Because to me, I wasn't feeling like it was like the back to basics DMC. It was like a whole new reboot. What are you doing, right?
And this is the
Like
weird
at
thing.
the end of the game, it got back and I was like, oh, I see, it's DMC. But like all the way through it, I wasn't feeling that. And Tomb Raider, they're like, we're bringing it back to basics. No Tomb Raider has ever been gritty. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And SimCity as well. You're not bringing it back to basics. It's a new game. It's different.
It's a reboot, but they keep calling it. This is weird. Okay, so DMC is Devil May Cry reboot, but it's not made by the people who made the original Devil May Cry. Same thing with Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider, it's a reboot called Tomb Raider as if it was the original Tomb Raider game done over again, but it's a prequel. And it's not made by the people who made Tomb Raider. The only case in which this isn't the way of things is SimCity, which is made by Maxis, which is clearly the people who made the SimCity series from the beginning. But why would they choose to call it the same name as the first one when it's clearly a reboot by a different company?
What they're trying to do is like say like this is the definitive thing. It's like with DMC Devil May Cry, it's literally called Devil May Cry, Devil May Cry. That's how much Devil May Cry it is. right? But it's like
But we
these
know from the
games.
beginning, like the first thing that they tried, the first thing you see when you look into the new Devil May Cry is Dante, who is completely different. If they wanted to make the point that Devil May Cry was still Devil May Cry, they wouldn't have fucking changed Dante. They're trying to make the point that they
Here's
can
the-
change Dante, so why would they? Why would they change the name? Keep the name.
One of the interesting things that is easy to miss, because I have to admit I've watched all of the cutscenes. I've actually watched a complete playthrough. One of the things that happens is that character that is Dante in the beginning is changing, as we see in the end. That eventually he's probably going to wind up looking like the Dante that
I
we
get
knew
that. I haven't
previously.
missed that. I haven't missed the fact that he becomes Dante over time. The point I'm trying to make is that the advertising, where do they get off trying to call it DMC?
No, but the
What do
same
they-
thing to me applies with like
What's their
SimCity and Tomb Raider, because SimCity, it's like there's a lot of things that have been taken out of it, and they're doing a lot of new things with it. But it's called SimCity, like it is the SimCity, and the same thing with Tomb Raider. It's just Tomb Raider, right? But like Tomb Raider's never been a gritty thing. That's not what Tomb Raider's ever been about. But they're bringing it out like this is what the game's about, and we're bringing it back to basics, which it never was at. It's like I don't understand it. I just find it weird.
It's because they bought the IP, and so they're going to call it by that name.
Well, they
so they're
haven't.
calling
They
those
haven't.
fans.
They don't own the IP. Like
Yeah.
the people who made DMC, they don't own the IP of Devil May Cry. They own the rights to make a Devil May Cry game. People who made the new Tomb Raider game, they don't own Tomb Raider. They own the rights to make a new Tomb Raider game. And in the case of SimCity, fuck you, SimCity.
Like, why didn't they call DMC Devil May Cry Origins
Like,
or a better name than that?
Yeah,
along
Devil
the
May
same
Cry
lines?
Point one, or you know what? Something.
Because it feels to me like they're trying to make it be like OG by calling these games, which are remakes or reboots or new takes on something, like just like the purest form of its name.
You know what I think? I think that they got like 90% of the way through making a Devil May Cry game or a Tomb Raider game. And they're like, we're making the best game that we can here, and it's a reboot. They knew from square one that it was a reboot and that they were making a prequel.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to the certain point and they're like, this is a little different from what people are expecting. How do we make it so that we connect to the original fans of the series? So that the name came after the design. And they made the name to try to attract the people that liked the original series, so that they wouldn't piss those people off. And little flavor things that they can just toss in, like the wig sequence in Devil May Cry, DMC I mean. They made that trying to attract people from the original series. It came across as pompous, as like, you know, yeah, fuck you, original fans, we're never gonna go back to the original. But I don't think that that's what they were aiming for.
Yeah,
I think that they were aiming to actually attract the original fans. Like, hey, yeah, we're acknowledging you. We know that you are. There's a little bit of a disconnect here, but we want you to bridge that gap.
I feel like DMC had like a lot of unjustified backlash of people just being angry and trying to find reasons to be angry. But like a lot of shit that they did, it's like I'm not sure why you did this, because what was it gonna do apart from annoy people?
Yeah, they didn't. Clearly they can't really see from our perspective. It was a bad decision.
Like the
Don't
wig
get me
thing,
wrong.
the wig thing I thought was
thing was
funny.
a poor decision.
I thought it was
especially-
funny. I'm
Yeah,
more
I
like
thought
with
that
the
was
name
pretty
and things.
fun, too.
I don't think it was. I think that if you take it a little bit abstract, it's insulting. But they can't see it from their perspective. They cannot see it from our perspective from the beginning. It's impossible. So you got to see it from their perspective and see that they were trying to talk to us. They were trying to make a connection. But it's hard. It's hard to see that when you're such a fan of the original Dante.
The ending to that game was so fucking satisfying. I really liked it.
I can't see. I haven't beaten the game. I can't see how satisfying it is.
You should be.
I'm actually really looking forward to the next game on that one. But back
hope
to
they
your
get a
question
sequel.
about like I'm not exactly sure what your whole question was, but the
It's not really a question, it's just a discussion topic.
yeah, it's fair
It was
enough.
actually a good topic.
Yeah, I mean, reboots. I mean, obviously, a reboot. You need to have in your name. Hey, we're part of this series, but we're doing things differently. And yeah, I would agree that the name for Devil May Cry in particular was weak, and did not lend any credence to their cause at all. But it was, like, I mean, they need, I mean, it is a Tomb Raider game, even if it's not even if it's a completely different game than before. This is the the intellectual property that we are using to create this game is Tomb Raider. So they need to pay homage to that at least somewhat.
Take it slow.
So, John, are you prepared with your topic?
Yeah, well enough at least. I'm not sure if it's worth ending on, but it's
Can I call
Something
Empty
else.
Vessel?
yeah, exactly.
Empty vessel, everyone drink just because I said.
Well, I can't drink anymore because that was like my one thing that I had because it was so massive.
Your champagne bottle full of alcohol.
I downed it while Nathan was talking. You can probably hear it in
My
the recording.
conversation is so worthy of getting drunk over, you'd have to be drunk for it to make any sense.
Go on, John.
Get him, John. Get him.
Yeah. So my original question that I thought about last week was that whether or not you need a good story to make a good game, or whether story doesn't matter. But that's not really the question that I'm asking. The question is what does story add to a game? And what I think it adds is it adds loyalty and a bit of community as well. The reason that part of the reason why we really like the Halo series is not just because it was a fun shooter. There were fun shooters before that didn't cause the huge cult following that Halo has. I think it's partly because of the characters and in the story. Like, we got Cortana, we have the fan created characters of the red versus blue guys. There's story that adds to the game that just makes you want to continue on with the story. What it does is it takes a great game into a I don't know, not a classic, not a legendary one, but it gives it more depth.
Well, it's-
I will not say that you require a good story to have a good game. However, the good games that have no story, for me, are extremely rare. Even the games that are extremely good that most people perceive to have no story, games like Legend of Grimrock, games like Dungeons of Dreadmore. I'm not going to say chess. Chess is, for this point at least, moot.
Okay.
With those games that usually you consider not to have a story, you create the story in your own mind. It's very, very exceedingly rare that a game will have a poor story but will still be attractive. But those games do happen. If you have really, really good core gameplay, it can happen. But even in those games that have really good core gameplay and no story, if they did have a story, it would be way better.
Can I just say that's a really fucking good host topic? And
Yeah, no
Let's just all applaud John for a minute.
like the original one wasn't that good about his story and whatever, but then you reworked it and it was really good.
I've actually been thinking about it for a while.
I
I
feel
try to
like
give John as much time to think, because when he gets like a couple days to think, his shit is the best shit.
like as far as what
Appreciate it.
story adds to a game, it makes it memorable and something that you connect with. Like you don't hear people saying, "Oh yeah, do you remember that time when I played the first Legend of Zelda and then I went up to a thing and I shot my sword at it?" Or like, "Oh, when I first
Right.
played the original NES Mario, I jumped on a guy's head. It was so cool." You don't really think about that when you remember a game. You think about like the story and like what things like touched you emotionally.
Mhm.
It just adds like a connection
And then
I
for
feel like-
loyalty, yeah.
So we
It
played
come back to the
Antichamber,
story.
right? Antichamber wouldn't
Some of
have
us.
been nearly so influential to me if it wasn't for me trying to look and hunt for the storyline of why I was in an Antichamber.
Well, a good example of a story adding so much is Portal. I mean,
Yeah, that was going to
was
be my
just-
point. Is what would Portal be without GLaDOS?
without story, right? It would be a casual puzzle game.
And we've seen there was a game that
It was
was
a
released.
clever,
I don't remember the.
decent game.
I don't recall the name of it. There was a game that was released that was similar to Portal after Portal, but it had no character. It had no decent voiceover, and
Right.
no one remembers what the fuck it is, including myself right now, because there was no reason to remember it. It was all about the character. It can't just be about the gameplay, or else there's no. It just doesn't stick with your memory nearly so well.
Like another example would be like Bastion. It's like such a memorable thing in my mind, and it's just because of the narrator talking to you. It's like felt so fucking special, like, and that was just because of the story. Like the game was fun. If you didn't have that guy talking to you that whole game, you'd just be doing shit. Like you'd be smashing some boxes up, and then
You
the
must be
guy's like,
doing shit.
The
Quarter of
kid
century.
smashes
Next
boxes up.
patience,
and you're like,
2013.
yeah, I'm smashing some boxes up, and like I remember him telling me that I was smashing some boxes up, and it's like it becomes a memorable experience. Because like that game, like on its own, it's like fun, but it's not special. But adding that story to it, it's like the story is simple and abstract as fuck, right? And that's also another really cool thing. Like it keeps you curious about it all the way to the end. It just adds so much. The story can also take away from a game, like if it's poorly done or if it's intrusive.
What was that game? It was just like you click and Total Biscuit called it the hitting W simulator.
Dear Esther.
What was it?
Dear Esther.
Dear Esther. It was just you walk through and a narrator was talking. You can't just have storyline in a game, else it's a movie. Movies are fine, but we don't want them in a gameplay scenario, okay? We want to have some interactivity with it.
Yeah, we play the game so that we can play the story. We don't want to. I mean, yeah. Otherwise, we would just watch a fucking movie.
Difference
you got
between movies and video games. We are the protagonist. We wanna
You guys,
feel it.
I want to
No.
play a game where I'm the antagonist, though.
There are a few games. I mean, like City of Villains.
Empire
The Empire. It's a good one.
Yeah.
just came out.
They're not
It
very
looked
good,
interesting.
but
That's
hey,
why I wanted-
we want
Yeah.
a really interactive. Actually, I really like City of Villains, but this is something I wanted to bring up while we were talking about the game earlier, where I want to see one of my characters show up in the TV show of Defiance. I want to see any player character show up in Defiance. If that happens, I am fucking sold. Instantly. It doesn't even. It could be a 1 in a million chance of my character being the guy that shows up in the TV show. I am sold. I will work so hard. I will grind up all the levels. I will fight all the bad guys and beat all the bosses for the possible chance that my character is the one that shows up in the TV show. Also, I want my character to be called something really obnoxious like Douche Nozzle. So they have to put it in the TV show. Hello, Douche Nozzle! It's great to see you, Douche Nozzle!
have you guys played Metal Gear Solid 4?
No.
I have
I have
not
not.
personally played it. I have watched it played.
You know how many Metal Gear Solid games I've played?
Zero.
Yeah, I haven't played any of them either, but I've watched Metal Gear Solid 4 played. And that game is like a perfect example of like an amazing story in a game done totally wrong. Like the whole thing is just a fucking cutscene.
I
It's
think
got
it's
more
right.
cutscene is like 6 hours of cutscene in that game. And it's like I don't find that relatable in a game for me. It's just like I'm watching a movie with bad graphics.
I will give objection. I will provide all the objection here. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm right on this objection, but I feel like just because a game is overly cinematic and has less interactivity doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. I mean, in the case of Metal Gear Solid games, I've played a good deal of Metal Gear Solid games. I have not completed any of the Metal Gear Solid games because they're long But all of the overlong cinematics, they're very long. They're extremely long. They're notorious for being extremely long. Some of the ones in the newer games have all of a sudden like it's a cutscene. It's like an hour long. You walk away after 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden there's a button sequence that you have to hit in
Our allies
near the end of the cinematic. And if you don't, you die. And you have to watch the whole goddamn thing over again. It's
can make
hilarious. That's an example of what I was talking about earlier with developers trolling us. So there's totally a developer trolling our asses. Like, we know you're gonna walk off. We know it. We know it's gonna happen because you're gamers. You better fucking watch our cutscenes or you will die.
You can make a game a cinematic experience without putting cutscenes in though. Like I've got a lot of problems with cutscenes because they like take away your control of a game, and it makes it frustrating and annoying.
I see your perspective. I really do. But I
Actually,
feel
if
like
you want to feel better about cutscenes, play StarCraft 1,
Nice try, dear.
the first StarCraft game.
we've played some RPGs with some really fucking long cutscenes.
No, but like we were talking about Portal 2, not Portal 2, Portal in general, and Bastion and Half-Life, right?
I'm not going to say
those are
that games are better off for having long cutscenes, but it's an alternate form of storytelling that should be considered as valid. I mean, it's not like they have zero interactivity. It's not like
Do you-
Aster where you just hold W throughout the game. There is
Do you
some
not prefer,
interactivity.
though?
The game is a shooter-ish, sneaky. It's mostly gameplay, and then there's a long cutscene that is what it is. It's an interesting form of storytelling. If you don't like that, you play other different types of games. You don't need to love that game. You don't need to love this specific type of game, but it is for certain people.
But would you not prefer in like Metal Gear having it like in Half-Life 2 when you're walking along and somebody's talking to you as you play the game, or let's say GLaDOS or Bastion Man narrating you?
Hey, you know what?
I find that
a lot
so
of
much
people
more.
haven't played Metal Gear. We should go ahead and drink for that.
I don't have anything to drink.
I already did.
Drink life.
Yeah, do you not prefer being able to play the game while you're being told a story?
Sometimes no. I mean, oftentimes no. Haseo. Not Haseo. God, Haseo is the example, but the game is... Aaron, can you help me out here? Dot hack. Dot hack sign. Dot hack something else. Dot hack GU.
Dot hack GU.
The cutscenes in that game were so incredible that they were the force that drove me through the game. The cutscenes were the best part of the game. The gameplay was decent enough. It was alright. I wasn't thrilled and I wasn't disappointed by the gameplay. But the cutscenes were so good that I wanted to play through to the point where I got to a cutscene just so I could watch it through. The opening cutscene of Dot Hack GU, the first game, I'm not even going to qualify this. The best cutscene for a single-player RPG I have ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not... Final Fantasy VIII was good, but not this good. I didn't get goosebumps from Final Fantasy VIII.
Fair.
I
That's
got
fair.
so many goosebumps from...
I will say the first time I
Dot Hack
ever
GU.
used the cheat code in a video game was in StarCraft, because I was just, it was late, I wanted to go to bed, but I wanted to see that goddamn next cutscene. So I was just like, that's it. There is no Cal level.
There isn't a cow level. There actually isn't. John, you wanna provide counter argument?
Well, there was.
Fuck you, you're
But now-
wrong. There is no cow
now-
level.
Now it's a pony level.
That was my plan.
That took
was
me a
just to say,
moment.
"Fuck
Though.
you,
That
you're
took me a
wrong."
moment.
There really is a cow level in Diablo. Just
That's pony level.
and then, now there's a pony level, but there's also cows in that level.
The
There is. Shut up. There is. I'll paint
was the-
cows
that
all
was-
over the screen if you make me.
that was the cheat code for passing a level in StarCraft. In case anybody was wondering, is there is no Cal level. because it's
Factoid.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for
These
watching,
host topics are
folks.
crazy.
We really have hit all the points of the topic, unless everybody... If anybody has any far-reaching implication of, you know, storyline and games.
I think next week, instead of a host topic necessarily, we should all have a game that we want everybody to take a look at.
Okay.
This is
And
the
we'll
game.
talk about that game. You know what? We're gonna do that. We're gonna fucking do it. Host topics next month are being replaced by game topics next month. It's done. Done. Nobody can dissuade me otherwise.
So what's this competition we're going to be doing?
Right. So this month we're gonna play a game. It's going to be either Dungeons of Dreadmore or Legend of Grimrock. It has not yet been decided. And the winner of this competition decides the game of the next month for the Gamer Appreciation Month. Gamer Appreciation Month game this month is the Legend of Zelda NES version. But next month will be decided by the competition that we hold. Probably next Tuesday, maybe a week from Tuesday. Depends on how long it takes for us to get organized.
Strong. I guess this means that the rumor about you killing 100
that sound good,
PKers
right?
wasn't a lie.
Everybody
after
Yeah,
all.
sounds great.
Hey,
Can I just say,
don't look at me like
before we
that.
finish recording,
No.
yeah,
Here,
No.
let me apologize.
Yes,
youtube.com/bloop show.
YouTube.com/Bloop Show. Yeah, we should do some plugs.
YouTube.com
And you're already on my
/.
channel, but the other plug is youtube.com/Bloop Show. Has anybody else set up their channel /Twitch yet?
What did you say?
John?
I haven't been filming.
You need to film. God damn it, film. It doesn't matter if you're novice. Film.
You should do YouTube before you do Twitch, because if you fuck up, then you can just cut that shit out. Like,
Fairy tales. So,
You should
and
do,
you've
you
not got
should
an
do
audience.
anything. Whatever's easier, just do it. Start and do it.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Aaron, have you started anything?
No. Because I am still not.
Well, when it comes time to record whatever our competition is this month, you're going to be recording it, so you might as well put it up on a YouTube channel.
Okay.
can I just say, go subscribe to Nathan, which is NY4 and ring, with YouTube in front of it, and you'll have a lovely time, and you'll see more of this podcast.
Fuck yeah, this podcast. Signing out on YouTube.